Sorry about that. I was grabbing some water. How's everybody, the commissioners?
And Illinois Bell, an avid CSO subscriber for over 50 years.
All right, someone's got their radio on or something. There you go. Okay. All right, so we'll get started, commissioners. I know it's 1 o'clock, and we'll get started. So again, good afternoon and welcome to the April 20th regular meeting of the Community Development Commission of Chicago. My name is Jorge Perez and I'm chair of the CDC and host of today's virtual meeting. Due to the COVID-19 public health emergency, an in-person meeting would not have been practical or prudent today. Therefore, in accordance with the Commission's emergency rules, this meeting is being held virtually via Zoom and can be viewed also on the Commission's website. A court reporter is present today to record the proceedings. So now, commissioners, you all have been designated as panelists, which means that you will be able to control your microphone. Please remember to place your microphone on mute unless you need to speak. If you want to be recognized, please activate your raise your hand feature and you'll be called in order. The agenda for today's meeting was posted on or before April 15th, both online and on the CDC's website and physically in City Hall. So now I will begin the meeting with a call of the roll. Commissioner, when your name is called, please turn on your microphone and respond by saying present. And also let me know if you can hear me okay. Vice Chair Newsom.
Present.
Secretary Butler.
Secretary Butler is present and I can hear you.
Commissioner Brooks.
All right, thank you, Helen.
President, I can hear you.
About any part of the development report?
Someone's audio's on. You can. Commissioner Buford.
If not, I
Here, and I can hear you.
for all of your support.
Commissioner Cepeda.
Here, and I can hear you. Thank you.
Commissioner Cox. Commissioner Curtis.
Present.
Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Griggs. Commissioner Rhodes.
I'm here.
Commissioner Thomas.
President, I can hear you.
Thank you. Commissioner Wheat.
Chairman, Commissioner Wheat is just joining in.
Thank you. Commissioner Wheat. Okay.
Here, sorry.
That's okay. Just calling the roll, and I'm here as well. So we have quorum. Okay, the first item on our agenda, request approval of the minutes for our previous meeting held on March 9th. Commissioners, you've had an opportunity to review the minutes ahead of time. If there's no corrections, we'll look for a motion to approve. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman.
We'll move by Commissioner Thomas. Do I have a second?
No, I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please,
Teamwork.
Thomas, what's your question?
I noticed that, I hadn't noticed this before, but if you are considered late, even though you voted on all items, is that something you note in the minutes?
That's a very good question.
This is Commissioner Butler. I don't believe that we previously, or at least consistently, we haven't, made any designation other than present and not present.
So I think that the commissioners that are delineated as late should just be part of the present team.
Yeah, I think you're correct.
As I ask that the minutes be amended to reflect that.
Okay, so Commissioner Thomas has a motion with the amendment that be removed as well. Commissioners, do I have a second?
Second, Commissioner Butler.
Thank you, Commissioner Butler. All right. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, all votes are to be conducted via roll. So I'm going to call each member and so you can identify yourself and record either as yes, no, or abstain. Vice Chair Newsom.
Yes.
Secretary Butler.
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks.
Yes.
If someone has their audio on in the background, could you just that's it for a sec? for the time of the meeting? Thank you. Commissioner, did I say Commissioner Buford?
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Cepeda?
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis?
Yes.
Commissioner Rhodes?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Wheat?
Yes.
And Mr. Bettis votes yes as well. All right.
And Commissioner Davis.
Please let the record reflect Commissioner Davis is here, and she's also voted yes on the minutes. Commissioners, before we get into the new items for today, we have Chris Jang, who is Assistant Commissioner for the Department of Planning and Development. And I think many of you know him. He'll
Did we lose audio?
I think we lost the chairman. Yeah, both audio and video. Tech support, can you tell us what's going on with the chairman?
Yes, Chairman has lost his internet connection, looks like. I don't know if he can even hear us now.
Does he need to?
I think he needs to exit out of the meeting and try joining in again. Bob, if you can reach to him somehow.
Okay.
Vice Chair Newsom, do you want to go ahead? Oh, there he is. Great, thank you.
Sorry about that. This is where I insert my son's phrase of, Dad, you didn't pay the Boost Mobile. What's up? So, that's me imitating my 13-year-old. Okay, again, so before we begin, we're gonna have Chris Jang give a presentation on the acquisition process. And that way we all have a better sense collectively in terms of how the process works with the city's Department of Planning and Development, particularly as we're moving forward with many of these projects. So Chris, if you're ready, you can go ahead and begin. Now, Chris, if you're live, just turn your mic on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, commissioners. For the record, my name is Chris Jang, Assistant Commissioner with Department of Planning and Development. I'm here to briefly review the city's acquisition authority as stated in the updated CDC rules document, which was adopted in January of 2014. The city possesses authority to acquire private properties for two main reasons. One reason is to create and expand public facilities and uses, such as parks, open spaces, public schools, libraries, police and fire stations, and to expand public roadways and other transit infrastructure and pedestrian improvements. The city also possesses authority to acquire private property for another private development and uses. If the acquisition property is located within a TIF redevelopment project area, DPD will seek CDC's review and recommendation prior to introducing the acquisition authority ordinance to City Council. This presentation will focus on the acquisition authority of private property located within TIF. There are 4 guidelines DPD follows pertaining to acquisition of privately owned property for economic development. 1, DPD reviews the goals of the redevelopment project area plans to ensure that the proposed acquisition of private property for economic development projects will advance goals and objectives of the plan. The acquisition process begins when DPD requests that the CDC recommend to the City Council that eminent domain be used. If necessary, to acquire private property, CDC recommendation allows DPD to seek a final approval from City Council. When and if the authority is granted by City Council, DPD can then move to acquire the property based on a market value appraisal. DPD and law department makes best effort to come to a mutual agreement with the property owner before resorting to any court action. Prior to bringing an acquisition item to CDC, the CDC requires DPD to notify all taxpayers of record by mail for properties proposed to be acquired at least 14 days prior to the CDC meeting. The notice lists DPD contacts and states that DPD staff is available to answer questions prior to the CDC meeting. In addition, DPD staff attempts to make in-person contacts with the owners to inform of the process and next steps. The CDC requires DPD staff report to be provided to the commissioners 4 days in advance of the meeting and include the following information regarding parcels to be placed on an acquisition map: current use, number of employees or residents, if known, intended use of the parcels, consistency with the plan, the nature and extent of community outreach efforts, and the proposed time frame in which development is likely to occur. Because of the seriousness of using eminent domain, in 1998, the CDC passed a resolution that cancels the city's authority to acquire an improved parcel if no action has been taken after 4 years. The department extended the sunset provision to vacant parcels if no actions taken place after 10 years. The tenants and owner occupants of properties acquired in connection with the city's supported project are entitled to relocation benefits of the Federal Uniform Relocation Act. The land acquisition generally follows the process follows. If the landowner and the city agrees, so if you can see the step 3B, the condemnation. So obviously we want to get the private acquisition done. And if the private owner and the city agrees on the terms of the acquisition, then this process would go within about a year. But if there is no agreement reached, obviously this will take much longer. These are some of the questions that came up during last month's CDC meeting from the commissioners. So if the question is, if eminent domain powers are exercised to acquire, the CDC review and approve final purchase amount? The answer is no. Once City Council approves the acquisition authority, DPD can acquire the property without returning to CDC for additional review or approval. The next question is, do we need a consent of the acquisition authority from the property owner? Although it is preferable that the consent is there by the property owner, it's not a requirement. Next question is, do we need support of the local alderman? Although we do not require formal written support to move projects forward legislatively, DPD works very closely with local elected officials, as well as local community organization and all of the community stakeholders in our projects to try to ensure that they are supportive of our efforts. The next question is, do we need to provide estimated cost of the acquisition cost to CDC? That answer is no. The DPD is not required to provide an estimated cost of acquisition. This concludes my presentation. If you have any additional questions, DPD staff and law department staff would be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. All right, commissioners, we have time for a few questions. Obviously, we have a pretty packed agenda, but if anybody had any questions of Chris on the process of acquisition, please put your mic on,
Mr. Chairman,
raise your hand.
Mr. Chairman, LaTasha Thomas.
Yes, Commissioner Thomas.
I was looking to see if we got that. I'd like a copy of the presentation.
We can get it. Can you repeat that though? It got quiet on my end.
I was looking to see if we received a copy of the presentation. If we, I don't see it, and could we get a copy of it?
Okay, yeah, I'll make sure we get everybody a copy of it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Curtis?
Yes, thank you. Chris, I'm just wondering if you can explain the next step in the acquisition process. So from here, it would go to City Council, and they then would approve the purchase price of the acquisition?
Yeah, well, the next step is once CDC approves or recommends to City Council, the acquisition authority to move forward, then we would introduce an ordinance to City Council to approve that acquisition authority. Once the City Council approves that acquisition authority, then we would actually negotiate with the privately owned property owner to sort of reach an agreement before we can determine that this is just not going to go anywhere. So we need to file a condemnation suit. But that is a very hard question and choice that we make. So we try not to pursue the legal route as much as possible.
Thank you.
Commissioner Butler or Secretary Butler?
Yes, just a quick question, Chris. Are there any statistics that you either have available or can make available to us regarding kind of the percentage of acquisition authorities that are actually, pursued through condemnation versus reaching an agreement with the private owner?
I don't really have that data handy at this point, but you should be able to figure that out and then put something together and then and provide that information at a later time.
Thank you.
All right, commissioners, if you have any other questions, make sure we get everyone a copy of those slides, Chris, and we'll move forward with new business on the agenda. Thank you, Chris. Okay, commissioners, I know there's 3 attendees on. I think they're up for public comment. I just want to check. I know I see Mr. Llc, and then there's a couple of individuals, Ms. Smith, and then a phone number there. Are we going to just chime them in at their part of the presentation for public comment?
Yes, if they're here for a specific project, we'll do that. We'll take their comments at that time. There were no general comments that were left in the phone in the directory 24 hours before the meeting. So.
Okay, just want to make sure. So we'll move forward then. The first item of new business on today's agenda, ask the commission to accept for review the amended redevelopment plan for the proposed 71st and Stony Island TIF development project area amendment number 2. Ryan Slattery is going to be submitting the report on behalf of the Department of Planning. There's not going to be a staff presentation at this time because the report first needs to be reviewed by commissioners. Staff presentations and commissioner questions will be made at the public hearings when the floor will be open for public comment. The commission requests that all public comment be withheld until that time. So therefore, the first resolution before us requests the commission to accept for review the amended eligibility study and redevelopment plan for the 71st and Stony Island tax increment financing redevelopment project area number 2, and to set dates for a public meeting of the joint review board and the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Commissioner Butler.
Thank you, Commissioner Butler. Do I have a second?
Second, Commissioner Brooks.
Thank you, Commissioner Brooks. I'm now going to call the roll. Signify by saying yes, no, or abstain. Vice Chair Newsom,
Yes.
Secretary Butler,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Buford,
Yes.
Commissioner Cepeda, Commissioner Curtis.
Yes, for
Yes.
Commissioner Cepeda.
Thank you, Commissioner Cepeda. Commissioner Curtis?
Yes.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Wheat,
Yes.
and Commissioner Bettis votes yes.
Chairman, this is Commissioner Cox. Just for the record, I joined the meeting at 10:10, and my vote on this particular item is a yes.
Okay, you mean 110.
Sorry, 1:10, 1:10.
Okay. Please let the record.
That would have been
reflect-
very early.
Please let the record reflect Commissioner Cox is in the meeting. Okay.
September. I mean, it's overwhelming.
Absolutely.
Next item of business, the Department of Planning and Development is seeking authority to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with Armour Institute LLC for the redevelopment of the developer property located at 3300 South Federal Street, located in the 35th State Redevelopment Project area, and to recommend to the City Council of the City of Chicago the designation of Armour Institute LLC as the developer. Aaron Dorsey will present the staff on behalf of the Department of Planning and Development. So Dorsey, when you're ready, you can begin.
Thank you, Chairman. Pulling up my screen now. Is this coming through all right?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Chairman Perez and members of the Commission. For the record, my name is Aaron Dorsey, Financial Planning Analyst with the Department of Planning and Development. With me today, I have Terrence Johnson and William Jeffries from DPD and representatives from the development team. They are here to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Dorsey, I only see your rates. I don't see your slides. If you have slides.
Yeah, I do have slides.
We see you, but not the presentation.
Give me 1 second.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, I'll start again from the top. Good afternoon, Chairman Perez and members of the Commission. For the record, my name is Aaron Dorsey, Financial Planning Analyst with the Department of Planning and Development. With me today, I have Terrence Johnson and Tim Jeffries from DPD and representatives from the development team. They are available to answer any questions you may have. The resolution before you requests a recommendation to the City Council for the designation of Armour Institute LLC as the developer for the Armour Building project, and the authority for the Department of Planning and Development to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with the developer. The proposed project is in the Douglas community area, 3rd Ward, in the 35th and State TIF District. The project is located at the southwest corner of the intersection of 33rd Street and Federal Street on the western edge of the campus of the Illinois Institute of Technology. The Armour Building was built in 1893 to house the predecessor to the Illinois Institute of Technology. The building was designed by Patton and Fisher and is a fine example of the Romanesque Revival architectural style. It was designated as a city landmark in 2004 and listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 2005. Significant features of the building include the exterior brick facade, the roof lines, and the Philip Armour Memorial stained glass window. The developer has acquired the building from IIT and has entered a ground lease with them as well for the land. Here you can see the interior of the building and the historic stained glass window to be preserved. The developer is proposing to redevelop the building into 102 rental units, consisting of 82 market rate units and 20 affordable units. The developer will also restore the building's masonry, reconstruct portions of the building's boiler house, and preserve the building's historic finishes. The development is expected to create 2 permanent jobs, as well as 142 to 162 construction jobs. Armour Institute LLC is a single-purpose entity created for the renovation of the Armour Building. It is owned by MCM Development Group LLC, which is an Ohio-based women-owned real estate development firm managed by Melissa Furchel Swingos. The firm has completed historic rehabilitation projects in Cleveland, such as the redevelopment of the former Our Lady of Mercy Church and the adaptive reuse of a landmark Christ Scientist Church. The development team also includes the Washington Park Development Group LLC, which is a minority-owned real estate development firm managed by Guion Foreman. The firm is working to redevelop the Overton School and the former Scholl's Bakery. The total project cost is estimated to be approximately $27 million. In addition to a combination of debt, equity, and a total of $5.5 million in TIF funding, the developer intends to pursue federal historic tax credits to fund the project. The city intends to provide the developer with TIF assistance in an amount not to exceed $5.5 million or 20.5% of the total project cost. The city funds will be provided from the 35th and State TIF District's area-wide increment and provided in 2 payments. The first payment of $2.5 million will be paid as a loan, bearing an interest rate of 2%. The developer will make interest-only payments from issuance until 12/31/2028, at which time the loan will be repaid in full. The TIF loan will also be secured by a mortgage on the property. The second payment of $3 million would be provided as a grant. However, the city will not remit this payment to the developer until the city issues a certificate of completion for the project. In addition to the financial protections that I just described, the project will have ongoing operations and affordable rental covenants that ensure the developer will continuously operate the project in the manner agreed upon with the City of Chicago and ensure that 20% of the units remain affordable. Additionally, the final RDA will include restrictions on the sale of the project, a profit sharing provision, and loan acceleration provisions. The proposed project will allow the following benefits to be realized. The project will repair and restore the masonry facade of the building and preserve historic features. The project is a high-profile development that will help establish a market-rate housing environment in Bronzeville, as well as create 20 affordable units on site. And the project will redevelop a large vacant commercial building that has been closed since the mid-2000s. DPD has thoroughly reviewed the proposed project, the qualifications of the development team, the financial structure of the project, and the project's conformance with the redevelopment area plans, and DPD recommends that the CDC recommend to the City Council the designation of the Armor Institute LLC as the developer for the Armor Building project. DPD also requests that the Commission provide DPD with the authority to negotiate, execute, and deliver on the City's behalf a redevelopment agreement with the Armor Institute for the project. I believe Alderman Dowell had a scheduling conflict with the Committee on Zoning this morning, but was briefed on the project and is in support. Thank you, and I welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Dorsey. Yeah, thanks for the heads up on Alderwoman Dowell. Commissioners, any questions? You raise your hand. Vice Chair Newsom.
Mr. Chairman and Mr. Dorsey, I have a couple of questions. The Armor Institute is acquiring this property at what I assume might be a fair market value. And I guess I am questioning the length and need for the 50-year ground lease, and how they determined that it should be 50 years.
So the first question, yes, I believe the near 600,000 in acquisition was the based on a appraisal that IIT gave at the time the building was purchased. As to the details of the 50-year ground lease with IIT, I'm not privy to why that time frame. The developer is on the call and may be able to speak to the negotiations at that time.
And if the developer is on, you can.
I see Guion.
Hi, Guion. Hi, this is Melissa Furchel. I'm with MCM Company. We're the developers out of Cleveland, Ohio, Vice Chair Newsom and Chairman Perez. I'd be happy to answer that question for you.
Thank you.
The reason we opted for a 50-year lease is that the majority of the lenders that we deal with require us to have a lease that's beyond 45 years. And when we acquired the property almost 4 years ago, we assumed that because of the time it takes to go through the approval process with the state of Illinois and the National Park Service, with the approvals required by the city of Chicago, et cetera, we assumed it would take us a minimum of 2 to 3 years to get through the development process. So we opted for a 50-year lease to make sure that we fit within the requirements of most of the lenders that we would be reaching out to for the senior loan on the property.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Commissioner Rhodes?
I noticed that you have historic tax credits. I'm wondering if that creates a requirement for income restrictions for what you're calling the market rate units. And I'm also wondering what the average square footage is for the units.
Hi, Aaron, would you like me to answer this question as well?
Yes, I do have the square footage. It looks like the studio, the average square footage is 509 square feet, and the one bedroom is average of 400. I'm sorry, studio square footage average is 398, and the one bedroom is 492. But as to the income restrictions, yes, I believe you should answer that one.
So the historic tax credits don't come with any income restrictions. The historic tax credits only come with design restrictions, and we've met all of the requirements of the historic tax credits. So the project has been approved by Chicago Landmarks, the State Historic Preservation Office, and the National Park Service.
So if there's no income or rent restrictions, what's your average rent going to be what's the distribution of studios and ones, and what's the average rent going to be?
I apologize, but I don't know the distribution of studios and ones, but the average rent, I think, is somewhere around $1,500 a month.
Yeah, and Missy, I have it in front of me. There are 83 one bedrooms and 19 micros. And the average market rate unit is $1,572 per unit.
I'm sorry, who's speaking?
Michael, can you identify yourself first, please?
Sorry, Michael Dubansky with MCM. Sorry.
Commissioner Perez, this is Terrence Johnson with DPD as well. And just so that you know, as Aaron mentioned in the presentation, there will also be 20 ARO units as part of the project as well, required due to the use of TIF.
Right. All right. Commissioner, Secretary Butler.
Hi, good afternoon. Just a couple of questions regarding the nature of the joint venture between MCM Development and Washington Park Development Group. It's my understanding, based on the department's presentation, that the joint venture is majority owned by MCM Development Group. Can you speak to kind of the ownership structure and who the managing member is of the JV, and MCM's experience in Chicago and boots on the ground in Chicago?
Hi, this is Melissa Furchel again, Secretary Butler. I am the managing member of the development team. This is our first project in Chicago that will actually go to construction. Gian and I have been partners on other projects as well. We have the majority of the experience with historic tax credit projects. We've done over 50 historic tax credit projects in the Midwest. Part of the function of our partnership relationship has to do with our banking requirements. I will be the person taking the signing personally on all of the debt on the project. So I'm required to have the majority, in some way, majority ownership within our partnership. Gian has been instrumental in helping us navigate the process in Chicago and introducing us to many of the consultants and partners that we've worked with so far on the project, including the architecture firm, the construction company that'll be doing the renovation of the project, and our consultants who've helped us through the TIF process, both on the legal side and the TIF consulting side. Gian, I'm not sure if you want to add anything to my comments.
No, I mean, I think as it relates to this project, you know, as Melissa said, I've worked with MCM on several other projects, and actually how we got to know each other. Melissa's father is one of my mentors, and I've worked on projects with him, and Melissa and the MCM team, they're helping me on some other projects in the Bronzeville community that also have some historic tax credits to it as well. So kind of leveraging our personal relationships to ensure that you know, we get some projects done.
Great, thank you. And just a quick follow-up question. Melissa, you spoke to projects throughout the Midwest. Have you done projects in Detroit?
Secretary Butler, yes, we have. We did the Book Cadillac Hotel in Detroit, which was a historic project. And then we've done other ground up projects. We also represent Bedrock Properties. We do all of their historic development work in Detroit and in Cleveland, Ohio.
So I'm sorry, so just by way of disclosure, Dan Gilbert actually introduced me to your father inside the Weston Book.
Okay. So,
okay.
You know,
right.
My dad, don't hold that against me, Secretary Butler.
All right, thank you. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
the presentation.
Commissioner Brooks?
Actually, it's turned into more of a comment. Commissioner Butler, really, we had the same question. It was really involved, wanted some details around the joint venture and what that looks like. Obviously, we are enthusiastic about a local minority-owned organization to be part of this project. And we look forward to hopefully the next go round where they'll potentially lead the project, and MCM will be on the other end of the JV. But again, it sounds like you all have a great working relationship and a great history together.
Coming soon. We have something coming your way very soon.
Okay.
Where it is the exact flip of the relationship, Commissioner Brooks.
Wonderful.
Okay, commissioners, any other questions, comments? If not, I'm going to call the item up for a vote. So the resolution before us requests authority for the Department of Planning and Development to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with Armor Institute LLC for the redevelopment of the developer property located at 3300 South Federal Street, located in the 35th State Redevelopment Project area, and to recommend to the City Council of the City of Chicago the designation of Armor Institute LLC as developer. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Commissioner Butler.
Seconded by Commissioner Cox.
Thank you, Commissioner Butler and Commissioner Cox. I'm now going to call the rolls. Please signify your approval by saying yes or no or abstain. Vice Chair Newsom.
Yes.
Secretary Butler.
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks.
Yes.
Commissioner Buford.
Yes.
Commissioner Cepeda.
Yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis.
Yes.
Commissioner Rhodes.
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Wheat.
Yes.
And Commissioner Pettis votes yes as well. The motion is carried. Our third item of business, Department of Planning and Development. Someone has their radio on. Could you put it on mute or put your mic on mute? For our third item of new business, the Department of Planning and Development is seeking authority to acquire the property located at 2908 through 2916 East 79th Street, 7843 South Escanaba, 7850 South Escanaba, 2920 through 2926 East 79th Street, 7901 through 7907 South Exchange, and 7911 through 7933 South Exchange Avenue, all of which are in the Avalon South Shore TIF redevelopment project area. Ms. Lisa Washington will present the staff report on behalf of the Department of Planning and Development. Ms. Washington, when you're ready, you can begin.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Washington, and I am the project manager in the Department of Planning and Development. Can you all see my screen?
You can.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so the two actions of consideration today
Hold on, I can't see it. Are you, did you?
We could not see your screen.
You can't see my screen, okay. I don't know. Can you see it now?
Lisa, this is Kamal. You have to press on the share screen. It's the green button on below.
That's what I've been doing.
And then select your PowerPoint window and then click on share.
And right now I can.
So this is Ryan. I can share your presentation if you'd like. Just say next.
How about there?
I see it.
You see it, great. Okay, let me start over. Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the Commission. I am Lisa Washington, Project Manager of the Department of Planning and Development, and there are two actions for consideration for today. The first action is the acquisition authority for 15 parcels located on the northwest and southeast corners of 79th and Exchange. The second action is seeking authorization to release a request for proposal for a total of 16 parcels. The addition parcel is a city-owned pen. So the property is located in the 7th Ward along 79th Street. 79th Street borders two community areas, South Shore and South Chicago. As stated earlier, they're located within the Avalon and South Shore Tax Increment Finance District, and it is also an Invest Southwest corridor. So DPD requests that CDC recommend to City Council the authority to acquire the indicated property. And we're going to go into details on those parcels. The authority to acquire the property does not mean that DPD is committed to acquiring it. Acquisition authority allows DPD to begin researching the cost of acquisition, such as ordering an appraisal, and it allows DPD to market the property for redevelopment to issue an RD request for proposal if authorized by CDC. Should the department move to acquire the property will offer to pay the owner no less than its fair market value. Only if an agreement cannot be reached will the city consider exercising its power of eminent domain. So this is the overall site. Site A is on the northwest corner of 9th and Exchange. And the south site or site B is on the southeast corner of 79th and Exchange. All the property are vacant except for the second floor units of the building located on the northwest corner. Site A is zoned B3-2. Site B is zoned C1-2. This is a closer look into Site A. As stated, Site A is improved with two buildings. One is a one-story storefront in need of substantial improvement. That's this building here. And the second two-story building with 3 storefronts, and it has 5 residential apartments above that is currently occupied. This is a elevation of what it looks like. And here's a fun fact. This building was the site of an American comedy drama called Barbershop back in 2002. So this is a closer look up of Site B, and I'm gonna go back to my script. Site B is improved with a 2-story with retail. I'm just gonna go in advance. 2-story retail, white glazed building at the corner. The entire site is irregularly shaped site with the corner parcel, again, 2-story with residential, is totally vacant. To the south of the corner is an iconic Ringer building, which is vacant. They both front, this property fronts both 79th Street and Exchange. So the Ringer building itself was built back in 1928. The builder, Charles Ringer, is credited with creating the bungalow belt in Southeast Chicago. He started a real estate business in 1905 here at 79th and Exchange. And at a time when South Shore was mostly a muddy, swampy area, he fought for paved streets, public lighting, public sanitation. He's a very important figure in the development of the South Shore community and South Chicago community. He was a former chairman of the Cook County Board of Assessors. And I say all this to say that this building is, it is classified as yellow on the Historical Resource Survey Register. It's not currently landmarked. One important fact about these existing buildings that I've shown is that we are seeking for a respondent in the RFP that will actually try to rehab and keep these buildings. And if they can make it pencil out, we're hoping that this building could be a future landmark. This is a picture of Mr. Ringer and a picture of the building in better days. So the owner of all 15 private properties is a gentleman named Siraji Elahi. He goes by the name Sam. And I just thought it would be interesting just to show that he was a former owner of the Alexander Steakhouse. If you know anything about the Southeast Side, if you were raised there, if you're over 30, I think, maybe 40, you'll know about the Alexander Steakhouse. He has signed a letter of intent regarding his support to this endeavor, and he is on the call with us today to speak. So we went through a number of community visioning with 79th Street round tables. We did interviews with different stakeholders just to reconfirm some of our previous planning efforts, what the South Shore Corridor Plan stated, and some of the goals and objectives of the Amberline South Shore TIF plan. We went through some of the development priorities. We talked about key corridor nodes that was important to the corridor. We talked about some things outside of, the corridor, such as residential and the infill of vacant buildings. But we also talked about renovating and keeping some of the buildings that's worthwhile, such as the Ringer building. So with all of that feedback, we presented to the community 3 opportunity sites. And as a result, we came back with 79th and Exchange as a key corridor or key catalytic project to try to have a release of proposal, a request for proposals released for this site. We worked with a pro bono group from the community, I always get it wrong, Chicago Central Area Committee, CCAC. They provided tons of hours helping, gathering, and confirming the priorities of the community. as well as giving some insight and doing some building masses on what it could look like to help bring the vision to fruition. So this is the massing concept. And as you can see, we have 3 properties that we're saying should be existing and remain. And this is some of the developing massing concepts that they came up with that shows mixed use on the north site and retail or commercial use to wrap around the white glazed building at the corner and provide some type of community or restaurant use in the Ringer building, or perhaps some type of incubator. So with the acquisition authority and with the approval of a request for proposal, we're proposing to release this RFP by April 30th, having a pre-bid conference by May 12th, doing a site tour of the existing buildings by May 26th, and the submission deadline for the RFP will be July 30th of this year. Just to give you a little bit more insight of the renderings, these are the proposed renderings. These are just conceptual plans. This is not what the city is asking for respondents to do. These are just renderings that our pro bono team did, and we think they did a great job. So the Department of Planning and Development recommends and respectfully requests that CDC approve the request for acquisition authority and the approval to advertise and issue a request for proposal described in this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Washington. Is Alderman Mitchell on?
Alderman Mitchell had a conflict, but he is supportive. He has been briefed and we have been in consistent contact with him.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Cox.
Yes, it's not so much a question, but thank you, Lisa, for that context, and particularly thankful for Sam. Did you say the owner? It's really a significant testament to his effort to bring these properties back, that he is willing to partner with the city in order to make a kind of critical mass. What you see here effectively are 6 different buildings, all clustered on a given intersection. And we believe it's that coordinated approach that is adaptive reuse, which is additions and new construction, which is going to make 79th and Exchange a vibrant corner. And you can see the challenge of how many things we're trying to do simultaneously: new construction, mixed use, community-oriented programming, retail, office. But if this works, that corner will be dramatically transformed. So I'm always impressed with how difficult it is to do catalytic redevelopment, but you really need a strong partner. And so again, my compliments to Sam for going along on this journey with us, and hopefully we will be able to see this corner revitalized, an effort that I think he has tried to do on his own, but this time I think with the support of the city, we'll probably get this done. I'm confident that we'll get it done.
Okay. Secretary Butler.
So just a question regarding the vision for these, Commissioner Cox, I think you said kind of 6 distinct parcels. Is it the vision to have essentially one development team work along with the property owner to redevelop all of the parcels as kind of one big vision, or will the department entertain responses to the proposals for discrete parcels within kind of this assemblage of properties?
You want to try, Lisa, to answer?
Sure. So we're dividing the part into 2 separate parcels, the north side and the south side. And so a respondent has the ability to respond to either or both.
Thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners? if not, I just want to say a few things, both as a resident and someone who grew up just 4 blocks south of here. From the perspective of economic development, this is what I think is a great combination of what's sorely needed on the southeast side. That metro line is the South Chicago Electric, or what they used to call the South Chicago Electric. But it is the, the lifeblood for many individuals who go work in downtown from the southeast side. I always would catch the 83rd Street Metro, at the 83rd Street Metro station, just further down. My family had a bakery, grocery store a block away from the 83rd station. So of course I knew Alexander's. I didn't have a choice. I loved it as a kid, and we would always hang out on 79th Street. I then, for the past 27 years, have been rehabbing that building that I grew up in, with the hopes of, and actually pretty close of doing a retail food and beverage walk-up window, to do my part of investing in the neighborhood and doing this because I've been saying it for 27 years. One thing to say, another thing to do. But in terms of just the changing of heads and sort of switching of attitudes here, this is also going to be sorely needed because just east of this, commissioners, is the former U.S. Steel Southworks site, which has been vacant since 1992. In fact, the anniversary is coming up April 22nd, 1992 is when it closed. My dad worked there as well as everybody. And in the last 20 years, there's been a new South Lakeshore Drive, and there's always been a few pitches or a few hopes and dreams of that thing ever being developed, but it has not come to fruition. I had always argued that if you're heading west from that site, the major arterial streets of 87th, 83rd, and clearly 79th are what's going to get you into the rest of the city and the community. And so this gateway entrance is something I think that is just really a wonderful addition there. So definitely want to give you guys a kudos on getting this moving, and also Mr. Llc giving you props as well for wanting to move this. So both that, again, as a resident, I still live in South Chicago. So I live a whole 2 miles from 83rd Street, so I didn't really go anywhere. But nonetheless, I just wanted to say those words as well. So commissioners, if you have any other questions or comments at this point, I'm going to call the item up for a vote. So the resolution before us requests authority for the Department of Planning and Development to acquire the property located at 2908 through 2916 East 79th Street, 7843 South Escanaba, 7850 South Escanaba, 2920 through 2926 East 79th Street, 7901 through 7907 South Exchange, and 7911 through 7933 South Exchange Avenue, all in the Avalon South Shore TIF redevelopment project area. And just give me a second. All right, do I have a motion, commissioners?
So move, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Newsom.
Commissioner Newsom, do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Commissioner Cepeda.
Commissioner Cepeda, second. I'll now call the roll. Commissioner Newsom, Vice Chair Newsom,
An enthusiastic yes.
Secretary Butler,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Buford,
Yes.
Commissioner Cepeda,
Yes.
Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Wheat,
Yes.
and Commissioner Bettis votes yes as well. So the motion is carried. And we were doing both at the same time. Give me a second, commissioners. The second vote is the resolution to request authority for the Department of Planning and Development to issue a request for proposals for the redevelopment of the property located, and I gotta say this all over again,
Yes.
2908 through 2916 East 79th Street, 7843 South Escanaba, 7850 South Escanaba, 2920 through 2926 East 79th Street, 7901 through 7907 South Exchange, and 7911 through 7933 South Exchange Avenue, all in the Avalon South Shore TIF redevelopment area. Do I have a motion?
So moved again, Commissioner Newsom?
Vice Chair Newsom, do I have a second?
Second, Commissioner Wheat.
Thank you, Commissioner Wheat. I'll now call the roll. Again, Vice Chair Newsom,
Yes.
Secretary Butler,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Buford,
Yes.
Commissioner Cepeda,
Yes.
Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Wheat,
Yes.
and Commissioner Bettis votes yes as well. So this motion is also carried.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Ms. Washington.
Mhm.
Okay. So now, the fifth item of new business is the Department of Planning and Development seeking the authority to acquire the property located at 3625 West of Chicago Avenue in the Chicago Central Park Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area. Mr. Bellamy, Ernest Bellamy will present the staff report on behalf of the Department of Planning and Development. Mr. Bellamy, when you're ready, you can.
Will do. One moment, please.
Can you, okay.
You can proceed, Mr. Bellamy.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for, thank you, Commissioner, Chairman Perez and Commissioners for this opportunity to present the Humboldt Park, Chicago Avenue, West Southwest RFP request for acquisition authority, as well as authorization to advertise and issue a request for proposals. First off, I will be walking through the request for acquisition authority, which will be for one parcel at 3625 West Chicago Avenue. The parcel is located within Humboldt Park, within the 27th Ward, Alderman Walter Burnett Jr. This is within the Central Park, the Chicago Central Park TIF, with a zoning of B32, and the ownership is privately owned. The current site is a one-story vacant building. The land is square footage is 9,682 square feet, with a building size of 7,200 square feet, and has been currently vacant since approximately 2019. This private parcel is integral to the RFP that we have here on the Humboldt Park, Chicago Avenue, West Southwest Quarter, which you'll see accordingly in the following slides. Secondarily, here is the acquisition to advertise and issue a request for a proposal. The project location spans between 3601 West Chicago Avenue and 3625 West Chicago Avenue. Again, this is in the 27th Ward, Alderman Walter Burnett Jr. In the Humboldt Park community area. The Chicago Central Park TIF is the TIF associated with a zoning of B32 on privately owned property. The project context is here. as seen along the Humboldt Park, Chicago Avenue and West Southwest corridor, which spans between North Kedzie Avenue and North Pulaski Road. The RFP site is at the heart of the Invest Southwest corridor here, located, as you see on the left, or no, pardon, on the right of your screen, in between North Central Park Avenue and North Monticello Avenue along Chicago Avenue. The ownership across this expanded site breaks down as following, with 3625 West Chicago Avenue being the property we are seeking acquisition authority on, as well as the Neighborhood Housing Services of Chicago, their West Side Hub location. NHS is a willing partner in the Invest Southwest RFP process. They're willing to explore options for inclusion and redevelopment for their parcel pursuant to this RFP. Subsequently, NHS is open to negotiations with developers responding to the RFP. DPD will only consider proposals that incorporate both parcels and integrates NHS's West Side Hub requirements specified by NHS. And lastly, there's a portion of the alley in between the two parcels that will be vacated for the RFP. The project site, as seen here in current day conditions, this view is from the intersection of North Central Park Avenue and Chicago Avenue, looking westward. As a summary of the RFP, this was a spirited effort, thanks in part to the pro bono consultant team, thanks to Chicago Central Area Committee, led by JGMA Architects, in collaboration with Belgravia Group, Integra Realty Resources, and McCune Construction. As you see here in the massing concept in front of you as a final massing concept, the program included a new mixed-use development building along Chicago Avenue that incorporated the NHS West Side Hub, 50 units of affordable rental housing, and proposed uses of a commercial retail space, as well as a community amenity use, plaza space, and parking. This was done through a spirited amount of community engagement, informed by previous planning studies done prior, an Invest Southwest kickoff and outreach, monthly Invest Southwest community roundtables for the Humboldt Park, Chicago Avenue corridor, as well as select stakeholder interviews and visioning workshops that were held on February 26th, as well as April 1st. The redevelopment recommendation, as seen here in the rendering, previously seen in the massing, is a collaboration of uses at the heart of Chicago Avenue here along the corridor, which mixes retail space along with living, a new idealized space for NHS, as well as a mixed use collaborative plaza parking space that retains some of the existing uses that are currently along the site. From here, DPD recommends that CDC approve the request for acquisition authority for the property at 3625 West Chicago Avenue. In addition, DPD recommends that CDC approve the advertisement and issuance of the requests for proposal described herein. And this concludes my presentation. I'll hold for any questions or comments.
Sorry, I was speaking and I had it on mute. Mr. Bellamy, is Alderman Burnett on, or someone from staff? Is Alderman Burnett not, okay.
I don't believe Alderman Burnett is on, but he has submitted a letter of support for the project, and I have previously briefed him on the project.
Okay, commissioners, any questions? Not all at once.
Mr. Chairman, I'll just ask, Mr. Bellamy, did you?
Vice Chair Newsom?
Thank you. Mr. Bellamy, did I understand you to say that there is an outdoor plaza located underneath that overhang that is adjacent to the parking lot?
That is correct.
Okay.
Any other questions, commissioners? If there's no other questions, and it looks like there isn't, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call up two different resolutions, each for a vote. So the first one is the resolution requesting authority for the Department of Planning and Development to acquire the property located at 3625 West Chicago Avenue in the Chicago Central Park TIF redevelopment area. Do I have a motion?
So
Mr. Chairman, I will move.
Vice Chair Newsom, do I have a second?
Second, Commissioner Brooks.
Thank you, Commissioner Brooks. I'll call the roll. Vice Chair Newsom,
Yes.
Secretary Butler,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Buford,
Yes.
Commissioner Cepeda,
Yes.
Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Wheat,
Yes.
and Commissioner Pettis votes yes. And the motion is carried. The second resolution to request authority for the Department of Planning and Development to issue a request for proposals for the redevelopment of the property located at 3601 and 3625 West Chicago Avenue in the Chicago Central Park Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, once again, I move.
Vice Chair Newsom. Do I have a second?
Commissioner Butler, yes.
Thank you, Secretary Butler. And I'll call the roll. Vice Chair Newsom,
Yes.
Secretary Butler,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Buford,
Yes.
Commissioner Cepeda,
Yes.
Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Wheat,
Yes.
and Commissioner Pettis votes yes.
Point to the minutes is to reflect what was said and what was.
Someone's live. Again, the motion is carried on this. The seventh item of business, the Department of Planning and Development is seeking authority to acquire the property located at 11201 through 11219 South Michigan Avenue in the Roseland, Michigan Avenue Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area. Michael, I'm gonna mess up your last name, Michael Penznak?
Yeah, actually, you got close.
Well, can you just tell me how it is exactly so I can get it?
Pennisnack.
Pennisnak. Michael Pennisnak will present the staff report on behalf of the Department of Planning and Development. Mr. Pennisnak, when you're ready, you can proceed.
There we go. Sorry about that. And share. Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Michael Pennisnack, and I'm here to present two items today. The first is a request for acquisition authority, and the second is a request to release and advertise a request for proposals. The acquisition authority is being requested so that the request for proposals can be issued. Like what was done in Englewood, DPD proposes RFPing 2 sites. Both sites are an assemblage of private property and city-owned land. RFP site number 1 includes 11201 to 19 South Michigan Avenue and 11200 to 32 South Edbrook. Site number 2 is 11331 to 11343 South Michigan Avenue. Both are in the 9th Ward, represented by Alderman Beal. Both are in the Roseland community area. Both are in the Roseland, Michigan Avenue tax increment financing district. As the addresses imply, these are within 2 blocks of each other. So the portion for RFP site, proposed RFP site number 1, for which DPD is seeking acquisition authority, is 11201 to 19 South Michigan Avenue. The site is owned by an absentee out of state LLC. Both return receipts were returned by the LLC, and they are aware of the city's desire for acquisition authority. The city portion of this site is the vacant land along Edbrook. The portion of proposed RFP site number 2, for which DPD is seeking acquisition authority, is 11331 South Michigan Avenue, also known as the Roseland Theater Building. The city portion of the site is the city-owned land immediately south of the theater. This is a ground view of the site to be acquired for proposed RFP site number 1. It was formerly the People's Gately store. Unfortunately, that burned down in a fire and required emergency demolition. Site, and this is for our proposed RFP site 2, the Roseland Theater Building, is an orange rated building. It has been vacant since 2015. DPD and the owner have talked, and the owner is supportive of the RFP. So that acquisition authority is being sought for an RFP. This would be DPD's Invest Southwest RFP for the Michigan Corridor Avenue. We were very lucky. Our pro bono consultants through the Chicago Central Area Committee were Smith Group, Sterling Bay, and SB Friedman. And what we came up with was the 2-site RFP. Financially, the city will be able to select a response that includes both sites, but the RFP does not mandate that a respondent provide a response to both sites. We chose 2 sites because each site represents a unique opportunity. For proposed RFP site number 1, the city is soliciting a mixed-use development with single-family homes along Edbrook. And for proposed RFP site number 2, the city is soliciting a commercial-only development. The department has brought this project to the community at monthly roundtables, December 8th, January 26th, March 9th, and April 13th. We held 2 community visioning sessions, each of which had over 50 attendees. I'm in the office today. Our first, in February, we reviewed 3 sites. At our second in March, we reviewed 2 sites that were ultimately selected. Alderman Beal and his staff were invited to all roundtables and visioning sessions. Members of Alderman Beal's staff actively participated in both visiting sessions and voiced no objection to the RFP generally or the chosen sites specifically. We have received a support letter from Andrea Reed of the Greater Roseland Chamber of Commerce after introducing herself. She writes, South Michigan Avenue has faced considerable economic challenges for decades. As our city emerges from the COVID-19 pandemic, it is important to ensure that Roseland residents are not left out of the recovery. We believe that the request for proposals for the former Gately's People's Store and the Roseland Theater would bring much needed equitable economic development to the community. We also received a letter of support from the Calumet Area Industrial Commission, which manages Special Service Area 71 that has both proposed RFP sites. Additionally, our pro bono team spoke with numerous stakeholders during this process. As you can see on the slide, the Chicago Police Department's 5th District, Roseland Community Hospital, and a few one-on-one interviews with business owners on the corridor and resident interviews. The development modeled, and again, respondents are not forced to do this, but the development model for proposed RFP site number 1 includes a mixed-use building on South Michigan with 53 housing units and a little under 13,000 square feet of commercial space and 11 single-family homes along Edbrook. The massing you see is resembles the former building that was on the site. So this is would not be new and would be of similar height to the building immediately to the south. Smith Group, our pro bono architect, did model this very nice site plan to help with the responses. For proposed RFP site number 2, the development modeled was an adaptive reuse of the Roseland Theater building with an activation of the adjacent city-owned land. The activation as modeled for respondents to work from include the sun lawn, micro retail, and a secure outdoor venue deck. For the 2 agenda items presented today, the Department of Planning and Development recommends that the Community Development Commission approve the request for acquisition authority for properties at 11201 to 11219 South Michigan Avenue and 11331 South Michigan Avenue. And furthermore, the department recommends that the Community Development Commission approve the advertisement and issuance of the request for proposals described herein. Thank you for your time, and I can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Michael. Now, I do see that Alderman Beal is on, and there's some, in the attendees area, there's Calumet Industrial Commission, and then there's Andrew Reed, and then there's a 406 in there. Alderman Beal?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Alderman Beal, as you know, as chair, I do have the leeway to say if you wanted to go ahead and speak, if you want to make a statement, you can go ahead.
Absolutely, if I can, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Anthony Beal, and I'm alderman of the 9th Ward. I've been alderman here in the Roseland Pullman community for over 22 years. I think me and the community have done a wonderful job of redeveloping different avenues within the area. We have created a new Walmart. We have created a Ross, Planet Fitness, City Sports, Method, Gotham Greens, and we built another Gotham Greens. We just opened a new Amazon fulfillment center, the state's largest indoor sports training facility, the Pullman Community Center, artist housing, SC Johnson, the first national monument in the city of Chicago, a new Culver's, Whole Food Distribution Center. We've also redeveloped Allgale Gardens to the tune of $435 million to transform 1,900 units. We've spent $30 million in Concordia Apartments, another $32 million in Eden Green Apartments. We have 3 blue ribbon schools here in the 9th Ward with Brooks College Prep, McDade, and also Poe Classic. And let me repeat, those are all blue ribbon schools. We have spent almost $1 billion in public-private investment in the community since I have been alderman, and we have created over 1,700 jobs. Out of the 15 so-called high crime communities, Roseland Pullman community is the only community in the city of Chicago that has a 33% reduction in overall crime. So all the things we hear that's going on in the city, my community is the only one that has a reduction in crime. So I think we have a great track record. And I think as we move forward, the community has stood by me in order to do what's best for this community. I think we have done a wonderful job. Commissioners, I think it is totally disingenuous for the Department of Planning and Development to engage in calling residents in the community to work against the vision, the dedication and passion that I have for my community. These RFPs won't do anything towards the long-term vision in my community. I have had numerous conversations with Commissioner Cox, and I have stressed to him more than once that the priority for me and my community is 115th in Michigan. We have been trying to redevelop 115th in Michigan along that corridor for over 20 years. We had a grocery store that was supposed to go into that area, and that deal fell through. If we're going to move forward toward the vision that the community has entrusted me for over 22 years, and not the vision of people who are downtown trying to push their agenda on my community, the people have elected me, ladies and gentlemen, to move this community forward. And I think we have done a yeoman's job in doing just that. So I ask that you all do not pass these RFPs and send the message back to the Department of Planning and Development to work with me on what I believe the community wants towards the vision of redevelopment in the area within the corridor, and that will be 115th in Michigan. If there's any question that the commissioners have for me, I would really entertain, but I really hope that you all will vote to not approve these RFPs.
Thank you, Alderman Beal. Commissioners.
This is Commissioner
Brooks.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, in response to the alderman's sentiments there, from the onset looking in, you would think that a neighboring development down the corridor on, I think it's 112th and 113th, could possibly be supportive of his overall initiative of 115th, which is sounds like his goal number one. Could he explain how those wouldn't be helpful?
Absolutely. Commissioner, there is a long-term vision that I have shared with the commissioner, and it is totally being ignored and dismissed. I've stressed to the commissioner that my vision and the community's vision is to move forward with expanding the medical district out of Roseland Hospital, and then having that medical district partner up with a larger hospital within the area. Move forward with bringing a teaching hospital into the area, which will create probably tens of thousands of jobs. That, at that particular time, moving forward with bringing infill would work. But these infill, these one-offs will not have a lasting impact on my community. Now, if we looked at 115th in Michigan, where we need a smaller grocery store, like maybe a Pete's, an Aldi's, or a small store like that, because we do have the Walmart just up the street, that will infill 115th Street, and then we can spill out with the medical district and start bringing it from 115th to 111th and bringing it inward. These one-offs, in my opinion, are just things that we can try to point to towards, the next election cycle to say we have done something within these Invest Southwest districts, and they will not have a lasting impact on my community. I have a great track record and a vision for my community, and this is not it.
Commissioner Wheat.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would actually like to just give Commissioner Cox or anyone from DPD an opportunity to respond.
Sure, I would be happy. Let me see if can I be heard?
You're on.
Okay, am I on mute?
No, sir, you're live.
Okay, thank you. No, thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Alderman Beal. I really don't see a disagreement here. He has a compelling track record for bringing economic development to the ward, and has shared with us his priorities, which we know are 115th Street at the new Red Line station and the medical district. Those two very important initiatives anchor of this stretch of South Michigan. They are on different timelines. So we are trying to pursue a strategy which is both and. We have a planner who is leading the Red Line extension. For better or for worse, as you know, this is the first extension of significant extension of CTA in Chicago recent history. So just by the nature and the complexity of it, it's on a very different timeline. I think, we are hoping by 2029 that site would be developed. We're being very mindful that planning can't get out ahead of CTA. They have their own process. So what the alderman is hoping for is a coordination between CTA and the private development potential of that site. So there is no question and no disagreement about its role as a catalytic part of anchoring South Michigan. With regard to the north part, 111th, that too is a critical piece of the overall puzzle. And the planning department has secured $300,000 to undertake a comprehensive medical district study that is to start in just a few months so that we can position that, that intersection in lines with the vision that the aldermen have. In the interim, we need to anchor and secure that the blocks in between 111th and 115th have they too a revitalization strategy. So we have basically tried to identify a redevelopment opportunity on each block between 111th and 115th with a very clear notion of how this all works together. And so I see no disagreement. There may be a disagreement on the timeline, what comes first, what comes second, what comes third, but there is no question that there is support in the community for revitalizing what was a very vibrant shopping district that is very, very different than the larger anchors that the alderman has been able to get in the Pullman district. This is not the site for Walmart or a large plate building. This is going to be locally driven, small neighborhood serving retail that will be accommodated on that corridor that is very difficult to accommodate anywhere else in the district. So I think we can do both and I am certainly anxious to see what the private real estate community has to say. I will say, Alderman, we have released 7 RFPs across 7 community areas, and we have received 26 different development groups that step forward to develop those properties, which I think is a testament to the fact that real estate developers are vitally interested in neighborhoods in the South and West Side. They are coming forward, they're diverse, they're bringing enormous experience, and I think they will bring that experience to Roseland as well.
Thomas?
Okay, thank you. But a few questions. The first 3 are directed to the department. Explain to me what is involved with the monthly roundtable.
So sure. And I'll welcome, I don't see Erica Selnick, who is the regional planner there, but Michael also can speak to this. What we wanted to do in this effort is to create a vehicle, albeit during a pandemic, for the community stakeholders who are watching, who have invested enormous amounts of their own time in trying to shepherd redevelopment, to give them a forum to help shape the future of these corridors. It doesn't come exclusively from the planning department. It doesn't exclusively come from the aldermen. There are many players on the ground who are readying themselves for reinvestment. And so this venue every month gives them an opportunity to shape the development that comes forward, to even select the sites. So the sites you see here were selected by a number of stakeholders who felt these would be strategic in advancing their desire for the corridor. And the average attendees are around 40 or 50 a month. And they've been working with us for 12 months to prepare for this moment, for the release of these RFPs.
So the 40 or 50 a month is for each community area?
That is correct.
So it's different people, it's a different roundtable.
That's right. So each of the RFPs you saw that were presented today have their own locally driven stakeholder groups that are meeting monthly to prepare for the investment opportunity.
Okay, and Commissioner, the second question for me is around the statement you made earlier, and it would be hard for me in that community to hear this if 115th and Michigan we can't start the planning for 115th and Michigan for another 7 years.
No, that's hopefully we'll be cutting the ribbon. But as you know, unfortunately, rail infrastructure is it has a very cumbersome program because it's financed by the state and the federal government. So the planning for that is happening now. They've already hosted a number of visioning meetings with communities, but the actual, before you will be able to use it, unfortunately, it has a very long ramp, a very long lead time. And that's simply, unfortunately, the complexity of the project.
So, and the last question before I just make this statement. I used to shop when growing up, I used to shop on Michigan Avenue. Are you saying that Michigan Avenue in Roseland is no longer a commercial, it's now no longer a commercial corridor?
No, absolutely not. I think but I've heard from many in the community that it has lost a bit of its luster, that it doesn't have the cross-section of amenities that they were accustomed to at other times, and that any new retail will be a natural complement to those businesses that have, stuck it out and continue to provide services for residents. But they're looking for something new space, new anchor tenants, locally owned businesses.
So why would you put so many residential apartments on Michigan Avenue, if that's the case? It limits the kind of commercial use on the first floor.
Well, it's taking a page out of the traditional mixed use orientation of many and most of Chicago's corridors, where you have residential living above the shop, 2 to 3 stories, 2 to 3 to 4 stories. It is the basic DNA of most of Chicago's commercial corridors.
Well, I think it's a lot of apartments on top of. I'm not saying mixed use. It's a lot of mixed use. It's a lot of apartments with the retail, which will be small retail.
Well, we have presented one vision that we know can work. I would argue that South Michigan is probably, out of all of the Invest Southwest corridors, presented the opportunity for the widest range of housing options that we've seen to date. As you saw, there are single family houses that face single family streets. And then there are medium density multifamily that face the street. So this is one vision. It's not the only vision. In fact, we have to wait to see how developers respond to this. They may decide to put fewer multifamily in, or they might decide to do row houses instead of single family. But we have given them a basic menu of what we think can be supported by those who have been engaged in the process up to this date.
Well, Commissioner, I respect your opinion, and I do like the initiative, the Southwest Initiative, and what it's trying to accomplish on the south and west sides. If you know my history, you also know that I also believe that the community, along with the alderman, has to have some buy-in at what's happening in their community. I also know that there are 2 other communities where we've approved of the RFP and the acquisition authority and the RFP, that where there are communities that are pushing back hard on the specific plans. So I just think we should circle back, make sure that the community and the at least the community understands the larger plan and how 115th Street it works with what's going on 111th and what's happening in the coordination with the transportation plan and the medical district plan. I think that the bigger vision should be coordinated with the community so they really understand that whether this is a one-off or not.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Thomas, when you were speaking, Alderman Beal did raise his hand. Alderman, did you want to comment?
I did. I wanted to give you all some clarification. The 115th of Michigan has absolutely nothing to do with the red line extension. When we first were trying to redevelop 115th and we had a LOI from Aldi's, we gave Aldi's and the developer an easement in preparation for CTA whenever the CTA red line was ready to come through. But the property is ready for development right now, and it is not contingent on CTA. And I think it's disingenuous to try to say that they're tied together when they are not. So I just wanted to, set the record straight on that one.
Vice Chair Newsom.
I have a question for Alderman Beal. You make reference to a quote medical district plan.
Mm-hmm.
Are you thinking in terms of something similar to what has been developed on the west side of the city around the Cook County Hospital development, or is it something that is mainly for the medical facilities to come together in a particular space? I mean, can you expand on the medical district concept that you're referring to?
Sure. The state of Illinois has designated under Governor Quinn at the time that Roseland Avenue, Roseland Hospital area would be designated as a medical district.
Mm-hmm.
Now, since Governor Quinn was the governor, no money has been really allotted to help the medical district get going. However, the state reps have now put some money in the budget to start the ball rolling to expand the medical district. Now, I've shared this with the commissioner along with Samir, and I told them that money should be spent on trying to attract a larger hospital, a Northwestern, Rush, University of Chicago, to come in and partner with Roseland Hospital, and then use the infusion of money that we can leverage from the state and also the federal government to start expanding the hospital along Michigan Avenue and create a huge medical corridor similar to what you see up north with Northwestern. You see what Northwestern Hospital did to the north side. I'm trying to copy that here on the south side and I'm trying to get the city to understand the vision that the community needs to bridge the health gap that we now know COVID-19 has exposed, that we have health deserts in our community. That will have a larger impact on my community versus these little one-offs to just say that we have done something before the 2023 election. And that's what this is all about. It's not long-term vision. It's not long-term planning. So I've asked the department to buy into my vision and to help me facilitate bringing medical resources to my community. And that will in turn bring more restaurants, bring more shops, more stores, and bridge the health desert that my community so desperately needs. That's vision. That's what my community is asking for. And I'm just asking the department to work with me on what my vision is that the community has bought into, not this. The community has not bought into this. And let me just say, Calumet Industrial Commission have withdrew their endorsement of this project. The Chamber of Commerce has withdrew their endorsement of this RFP. The SSAs have withdrew their endorsement of this RFP. And those were 3 people who issued letters of support for this particular RFP that have since withdrew it when they heard exactly what is really going on, and they have withdrew their support.
Secretary Butler.
So this is very obviously, Commissioner Cox and Alderman Beal, you both know, this is a very difficult position that the commission has been placed in. We're being asked to either approve or not approve development along a corridor that really needs development. As I listened to Alderman Beal's comments, being in the real estate business, I absolutely understand the vision that he's communicated and everything that goes along with that. I also have listened to Commissioner Cox. I understand the department's strategy as relates not only to, Invest Southwest proposals here, but throughout the city. Is there no way for these gentlemen and their constituents to come to some agreement that would not place the commission in a position where we go against the wishes of all interested stakeholders who I think at the end of the day just want to see revitalization and needed services in this corridor? Nope, I'm not talking about, I can't speak to any political motivations. I don't come to this work as a private citizen from that perspective. I come to this work from the perspective of wanting to make sure that folks throughout the city enjoy the same types of goods and services that we enjoy, those of us who live in downtown or the River North area, other areas of the city that have seen lots of development. So I'm just asking the commissioner and the alderman, is there a way for, because as I listen to the comments, I don't see this as being the development along Michigan Avenue from 115th Street to 111th Street as being mutually, it's not mutually exclusive, it's actually very catalytic. And there's probably much more that can be done in addition to what's been being discussed today.
Well, if I can, Mr.
Please,
Chairman.
Thank you.
I have prided myself on working together towards what's best for my community. And I think there is a way to move forward collectively. But at the same time, I think the local elected officials have to be respected and listened to as far as what their vision is for the community that we have been duly elected and not appointed to bring forward to our communities. And at the end of the day, I have to face my community, which has sent me back 6 times, versus someone who is again appointed, who they may or may not ever see again in life. And so I think it's just real important that we understand what the priority is for my community. And I think if the city would take my recommendation on moving forward with that, we can meet that common ground. But to dismiss 115th that we've been trying to get going for almost 16, 17 years, I can't just dismiss that when I know that's the priority of my community. I know that. I know my community, and I know what the priority is. And that's all I'm fighting for. I'm fighting for what my community has asked me to fight for.
Thank you, Commissioner Butler, for that. As I said, I think earlier, this is a both and scenario. We are working with CTA to redevelop the 115th Street site. It has to be done in coordination with CTA. It's going to not only be a CTA station, but it's going to be a parking garage. It's going to be a bus turnaround, a bus station there.
That's new to me.
It cannot move independent of, we can't move to redevelopment independent of that. So that's simply a coordination. And it is, as I said, a planner on our team is leading that effort. Similarly, as the Alderman said, we want to address the public health issue, and the state will not release the dollars to reinvest in that Roseland Hospital without a comprehensive framework. We have brought forward, and the Alderman supported, a $300,000 framework. So we're working on both ends, and the effort that you see is to create that connective tissue in the middle. When people get off of this brand new CTA station, they're going to walk along South Michigan. And my expectation is that they're going to expect it to be revitalized, reinvested in. These block by block strategies are a part of that effort. Those thousands of people who may work at the hospital are going to want to go onto the main street and find a choice of restaurants and a place to eat lunch. We have this work, which is far more granular and far more complicated because we don't own a lot of land on it, is work that needs to start now. And so I would just ask the commission to allow us to ask the private real estate market, what do you think? Because if they think that this is a horrible idea, then they won't come. If they think that this is a place where they can really make a contribution, then we will see respondents. And understand that 26 teams have vied for 7 opportunities that we have teed up over the past year, many of them Latino and African-American led. So I would just say, can we ask the question, can we pose it to the real estate community? What would you do on this site? And we will, and I hope that the Alderman will be there to see those respondents and be able to make the evaluation at that time about whether this moves the needle forward to the revitalization that he is seeking for the corridor.
Commissioner Rhodes?
Commissioner Cox, I guess in response to what you just said, would you expect then to go back and talk with the Alderman and the groups that he's working with closely to discuss what the market was saying? Or would he just have to, like, say there are some people that want to do it and it's still not aligned with his priorities based on the hard work he's done so far? Would you be willing, is the city willing to then pull back from what the market is saying?
Well, what we're doing is we're getting a variety of responses. I have to say, one is sometimes vastly different from the other. We have, on Ogden in North Lawndale, we have someone proposing a hotel. Another is proposing offices and retail. Another is proposing multifamily housing. Some are proposing affordable housing. Others are proposing market rate housing. And it's at that time where we have the discussion with the community, which of these visions reflect more closely the vision that you have or that the alderman has for that ward. But we have to put it out there. We have to market these properties. And we have, again, the recent history suggests that there are many, many developers who had never considered these areas before who are now looking at them. And this is exactly what Invest Southwest was attempting to do, to shine a light on the investment opportunities in these communities that will ride the coattail of the work that the alderman has done for decades now. I think, yes, it is a process. And I really would like to allow developers to see the work, to be introduced to this community, to understand the investments that have been made and that are coming, and put forth a vision. And we can then evaluate whether that vision matches the community's desires.
I appreciate that. I guess appreciating what you've accomplished so far with Invest Southwest, it's just in a situation where there appears to be groups of people in the community, including under the alderman's leadership, that are actually opposed to these sites. I guess I would feel more comfortable if I knew that if you vetted the market, that those would come back and you'd have another robust round of conversations with the alderman and his groups.
Well, I'm happy and willing to tailor the outcome of this to the larger concerns and desire for coordination. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to not ask, is there interest? Which is what would happen if we don't release the RFP. We will never know if there are private investors who are interested in these opportunities. So I just don't quite understand the value of not asking investors after working for 12 months to come up with a vision that the community felt they could live with. I can't understand the logic of that way of operating.
Mr. Chairman, to that point.
Yeah, Commissioner Thomas, if I could just, let Commissioner Wheat go first and then I'll get right up to you. Commissioner Wheat.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If it appears that there are representatives from the Greater Roseland Chamber and Calumet Area Industrial Commission on the call, and I'm hearing different opinions, frankly, about their positions on this matter. So if they would be willing to provide thoughts, I think would be helpful at this time.
I agree, Commissioner Wheat. And actually, if I could just hold Commissioner Thomas and Vice Chair Newsom for this point, we'll get those attendees to speak. I don't have the verbiage in front of me, exactly the rules, but you have no more than 3 minutes in terms of your comments. So Kamal, if you can let the first attendee speak.
Chairman, would you like me to have a stop clock?
If you can, yeah, I mean, we all have the good folks at Cupertino have a stopwatch. You could do one for 3 minutes. And you could just say go, and the first individual from Calumet, you want to speak? Look at that.
Can you hear me?
Okay. First individual, you want to go ahead?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, please go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Sheila Stevenson. I want to thank you all for this opportunity. I'm coming to speak to you on behalf of our business owners on Michigan Avenue corridor and some of our churches. They actually called a special call meeting because they felt like they had not been heard. The idea of Invest Southwest was exciting to our business and our property owners within our business corridor. But what they presented, the project they presented, they feel as though does not match what needs to be put on Michigan Avenue. Definitely not a mixed use unit. They are totally against that. They feel as though that this mixed use project was forced upon them. They were, the community was presented with two different ideas, not to say, what do you all want to see? So that's one pushback that they're gonna have with presenting this mixed use project. And then by them waiting for so long for 115th Michigan Avenue corridor, they was wondering, why wasn't that area even considered? Because we have been waiting, or the community has been waiting for a grocery store, something that we've had before within our communities. And it's exciting, but it's also disheartening to think that you will put a mixed unit building within our corridor with 50 units on top of it. That is just not something that they're wanting to see. And they would like to come back to the table to see if there's something else that can be designed that will best fit the Michigan Avenue corridor. So I just wanted to make sure that the property owners and the businesses and the pastoral Roseland community voices has been heard. And with that being said, I will turn it over to Ted Staunos, which is the Executive Director of the Calumet Area Industrial.
Okay, thank you, Sheila. I would just like to voice, I have since consulted with our alderman, Anthony Beal, and one of the things that we had been discussing long on since I came on as president of the Calumet Area Industrial Commission is the empty spot that's on 115th in Michigan, and looking to get that spot of vacant land developed first. It's such an open eyesore, and I have to agree with the alderman. I think we really need to address that area first and foremost, that being a vacant land that was been too long been abandoned. Thank you.
Thank you. 563, the next speaker there.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, Kamal, the next individual that's on, last three digits are 563.
Yes, I think that's Miss Robinson. I'm not sure who it is, but I think it's Miss Robinson. If whoever is there, if you can please unmute yourself and identify.
All right, and if not, we'll go to Andrea Reed.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I first want to say that I have worked very closely with DPD, Erica Selke, and the design team. And I've offered lots of ideas and suggestions and participated very closely with them in development of the corridor. The thing that I have done on several occasions is pointed to the 115th Street site. Just recently, I had a conversation with Erica. What has to be understood is that we have been waiting a very long time for the development of that site. It will offer the density that we would need at this time to really turn 115th Street in Michigan, which is really kind of like the gateway for our corridor, as well as for Pullman. It's so closely connected. There's enough density there for a grocery store and retail development there. The other thing is that we have a lot of social ills, and I've explained that to Erica and to DPD, as well as the department that I report to, which is Business Affairs and Consumer Protection. We cannot put a Band-Aid over this situation. We need to convene some meetings with all department heads, including 5th District, the Alderman's office, and all of the other community groups to deal with the social ills that we are faced with on Michigan Avenue. We cannot ignore it. And so that's one of the reasons why I think we really need to look at a long overdue development of the 115th Street site. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. All right, Commissioner Thomas?
Oh, sorry.
I wanted to, it was a question related to a comment earlier about the receipt of the responses to RFPs. What happens if you only get one response to the RFP? Do you just go with that one response? Or do you put it back in the market? Do you tweak your request and put it back in the market?
Yeah, well, thank you for that question. Well, it's only happened once. Out of the 7, we had as many as 7 developers and as few as 1 developer response for one particular RFP. And at that time, we took them through the exact same process of introducing their development strategy to the community, evaluating the financial feasibility of the project, and then altering the project dramatically from what they presented. It's a whole new project that happened after it was deemed that that team was able to deliver the project, but the community didn't like the design. So we started over with that community, and we are still in the process of getting to the right number of units. The community thought it was too dense, so the developer went back and looked at lowering the units. The community thought that it needed to be market rate integrated with affordable. So the developer was going back to see how, so it's a process. It's really just the beginning. It gives communities some choices that they do not have, unfortunately, right now. And as I think you all know, success begets success begets success. And what we need are a few little wins in order to give people the confidence that these harder to deliver projects like 115th Street can be done. We do not have to wait for the bank, which currently owns the property in question on 115th Street, to go through the process of getting it from the bank. And I personally have met people who are tired of waiting and want to see some action incrementally towards the redevelopment of that corridor, which I think these RFPs are producing. But by all means, once a developer is chosen, even if there's only one developer, they have to be the right developer, and they have to be willing to work with that community to massage the project until it meets their needs. And I'm committed to that process.
I think that sometimes when that's happening and you keep going back and forth to get them to change what they responded, you probably need to put it back out in the market with what the community is really asking you to do and see if you can get some other responses.
Fair enough. I have to say, these communities have never seen this much development interest in recent memory. So
I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to stop you there because you all know I used to be an alderman, so I can't go with that one. But I understand the purpose of the initiative of South and Southwest, because it is one of the hardest. Those two community areas are the hardest to develop in the city of Chicago of late. But I have to stop you on
that's fine. That's fine.
Starting to make.
I'm happy. I'm just telling you what communities have said to me, that they have not seen this level of private sector interest in their corridors before. But once again, this is the 11th RFP. If the community, and if the community is interested in waiting, we have 3 other RFPs that are ready to go. What I don't want to do is to cut off our nose to spite our face and not even ask the development community, are you interested? But if this commission does not feel that we should, I just know that part of the success has been there are options that developers are able to consider. They may not be interested in North Lawndale, but they are interested in South Shore. They may not be interested in Bronzeville, but they're interested in South Chicago. The fact that we're bringing forward a set of opportunities has been part of the reason why the response has been so robust. Now, we can isolate one RFP, and we can even, I mean, unfortunately, I can't promise to RFP a site on 115th Street that we don't own, and that is coordinated with CTA doing a major station. That may be unfortunate. There's going to be some consequences that perhaps we aren't fully aware of on this call. But at this point, you know, our attempt is to advance the RFPs. If we have a community that's not ready, but we want to give them the time to get ready, I can also live with that. I just, as I said, we are trying to ready the community for development. And if they're not ready, the alternative is to take the time and pace it at a rate that they can receive it. If it takes 6 months, if it takes 12 months, so be it.
Vice Chair Newsom.
To the commission and to Commissioner Cox and Alderman Beal. I represent a portion of the Bronzeville community that is undergoing extensive redevelopment. In some cases, it's termed gentrification, revitalization, and any number of other labels. What I'm hearing is somewhat causing me concern because I've experienced some of what I've heard over the years. And I guess I understand coming from the alderman's position, and I understand coming from the commissioner's position, what it is that both are trying to accomplish. And I guess my question to both is, if in fact we can pull this item from today's agenda and move it to possibly next month's agenda and allow time for the two entities to come together to in fact inquire of the development community what it sees happening in this area, and also to have an opportunity for the two community groups who appear to be not necessarily at odds, but have different perspectives from a planning perspective to come together over, say, the next month. And then we reconsider this matter next month or whatever time it takes, so that we can actually come to the proper resolution on this matter. I can see what has happened in the medical district around Northwestern, as the alderman pointed out. I can see what has happened around the medical district at Cook County. I am aware of what has happened around the medical district at Rush Presbyterian. And if you look at the development of those medical districts, they all contained the medical facilities that were being asked for and required. They contained the residential piece that they felt was an additive, and also they contain a retail component, and they all more or less are working well together. And I can see this actually happening with the Roseland Hospital potential medical district. And so what I'm asking is, can we give this some more thought and see if we can come to a resolution that is amenable to everyone, and that everyone feels that they've been heard and can have some buy-in?
Well, I hear you, Commissioner, Vice Chair. I will tell you, I'm going to have a lot of very, very disappointed people who have worked for 12 months, who've shown up every month. And you heard from one, Andrea Reed from the Roseland Chamber. They've worked diligently to get us to this moment. And I feel a certain obligation to them to pose the question, are these sites viable sites within the private sector development community? I see no harm in this commission allowing for that process to happen. And I have, I just don't know. I've got a lot of folks who've got invested in this. And if we are suggesting that we can't act, I just don't understand the logic here.
If I can just interject here, Michael, I do have a question. And his neck, in terms of the pro bono team that worked on this, am I correct? Did SB Friedman work on this?
Yes, SB Friedman, again, is a pro bono
Hold on, I'm only asking that because aren't they contracted under the Department of Planning and Development to do TIF studies and economic impact? I think I know there's a list of 5 or 7 economic development groups, firms who work directly for them. I know Ernest Sawyer Enterprises is one of them.
Yes.
Is SB still under contract with Planning and Development?
I think things is here on to that question.
Hi, yeah, Chip Hastings for the record. Chairman Perez, SB Friedman is one of a pool of consultants that is currently under contract. So every time we issue a TIF designation, task order request for a TIF designation, TIF analysis work, they are one, don't hold me to this, it's actually 9 or 10, but they are one of the consultants that are approved for that.
But if they're under contract, that's a conflict, isn't it?
No, they've all signed, all of the professionals who are giving tens of thousands of dollars of pro bono assistance have signed a non-compete form. They will not compete on any project related to the core that they've worked on. So that's how we go to.
Commissioner, I'm referring to whether or not, if they're under contract, they're not doing it pro bono.
Oh no, they're doing it.
Yeah, but even the optics of that it's not consistent. If they're under contract with the plan and development as a pool, and quite honestly, I don't think Ernest Sawyer Enterprise gets a lot of work from you guys. I think the task orders typically go to SB Friedman for TIF analysis and so forth. I just see that as a conflict that you don't have a firm that's providing pro bono work when they've already got an existing contract with the Department of Planning and Development. So it is not right. And I don't think it's consistent that you can say that they're doing pro bono work or putting them out to talk to community members when in fact, if another TIF designation is needed or some other work is out there as for a task order, they're going to be the first ones in line that want to do the work. So I just have a conflict with that as well.
So, Chairman, if you will, to your point, and obviously the commissioner can speak to this more in depth than I can, but to address your point about the TIF designations, for context, we currently have 5 designations or amendments underway for which we have engaged a consultant. They are engaged on one of those, and there are 4 different consultants. So we have 5 active designations and amendments and 5 different consultants working on those designations. So it truly is, I don't know if it's important to your point, but it truly is a pool from which we select each and every one of the respondents, including ERS, which you mentioned.
Okay. Alderman Beal, you said you had your hand up again, sir?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I hate to just keep correcting misinformation. The commissioner stated that, this community hasn't seen this level of excitement and investment. I mean, what is $1 billion of public-private investment if that's not exciting to talk about that we've brought to this area? So my community has been excited about all the opportunities that we've been bringing to the area, and they continue to be excited. But I just want to make sure my community is heard, and right now they're not. They're being dictated to, and I'm all in favor of pulling this back, reworking it, and if we can add 115th to the mix, I'll be more than happy to.
Well, we can't do that, Alderman. We can't do that.
Yeah, we can do anything we want to do. We're the city of Chicago.
Fortunately, the property that you are citing we just went through the acquisition process earlier today. And we may be 12 months away from being able to secure that property. So I see no reason why we cannot do both, and why we cannot allow development interests to explore the opportunities that this site is, see what it yields, and bring those strategies back to the community as we have done in the other Invest Southwest investment areas. So I honestly, Commission, I am asking your support to allow us to ask the question, is there a redevelopment vision, whether it's 25 units or 50 units, whether it's no housing, whether it's all single family housing? This is a process that is new. It's a all hands on deck. It's a complement to the work that the Alderman has done. And I would like to be able to do my job, quite frankly.
Secretary Butler?
Yes, so to that point, Commissioner Cox, and I think Vice Chair Newsom had a suggestion for essentially, giving the department and the community and the Alderman's office an additional 30 days, given all the work that everyone has done along this corridor between 115th and 111th Street, to kind of think through what some of the newly raised issues or revisiting issues. Is a 30-day period, which Vice Chair Newsom suggested, unreasonable? Certainly we don't want to stop any momentum, and we certainly have seen the benefit of getting market feedback in other situations that other communities where Invest Southwest has generated interest. Given the comments here today, is it unreasonable to just take another quick look just for 30 days or so to make sure that all of the issues that we've heard today have been addressed and considered as part of the commission's deliberation on moving forward with these or really any other projects?
Commissioner Davis?
I'm happy to participate if that's what it takes. 30, not 60, not 90, not 120, 30. And I do think that we could come to some consensus about how to move forward.
Hold on. Go ahead, Commissioner Davis.
So I've been listening, and I'm trying not to be dense about this, but there's a few things that I just truly don't understand. I completely hear what's all been said, but there's two things, if somebody can clarify for me again. Why is it that we can't pull back with enough time, be it 30 days, be it 60 days, or be it 90 days, or whatever number of days, in order to ensure that there is enough time for all of the stakeholders, all of the concerns that have been brought to our attention now can be addressed? When I hear comments like, I want to do my job, and comments like the community is not being heard, it seems to me that it's more about wanting to move forward with all deliberate speed, because that would be the easiest thing to do, than to maybe step back and give it a little bit more time. What do we lose? Here's my question. What do we lose if we take the needed time to ensure that it is done in a way that the stakeholders can all come to some better agreement? It may not be that everybody's happy, but surely today we are at two different crossroads. So if you vote yay, it's forget about what Alderman Bill says. If you vote nay, it's forget about the work that Commissioner Cox is doing. And I don't appreciate the level of discord, because it seems to me to be unnecessary. So if somebody can explain that to me, maybe I am in more of a peaceful state right now, hoping that when this verdict is read, we will still be in a peaceful state in the city. Please somebody enlighten me.
You know, let's go to Commissioner Wheat. Commissioner?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I very much agree with Commissioner Davis and also the sentiment from Commissioners Butler and Newsom. I think there are also a couple of central questions if this is tabled to a subsequent meeting that would be helpful. One is that there seems to be frankly, we're in the middle of a factual disagreement in all due respect between the alderman and the department around plans with respect to both CTA and the development of the medical district and the ability to access state dollars, which seem to be important components to the overall plan of what would or would not happen in Roseland. These seem like factual questions that we can answer, right? Like the CTA plan has been up for feels like forever. So an understanding, and I definitely, one, from a policy perspective, I very much appreciate the desire to do things like increase density close to public transit stations. That's where you want the density. But there seems to be a conflict, at least I am seeing a conflict between the department, the alderman, and potentially CTA. And I'm not saying that we need CTA for this discussion, but to have an understanding of that component. I think the second piece is there is an element of, in all due respect, I'm hearing that the sky is blue and the sky is red with respect to the level of community support or lack thereof for the project. And I think that also puts the commission in a precarious situation where we're candidly calling balls and strikes, but between who is speaking for whom. And so additional feedback, letters of support or whatnot, or other testimony, I think from folks in the community, I think would be helpful. I agree with the commissioner that you can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time, and that that the infill can be part of can still be part of a broader project. I think that the concern that I heard from some of the members of the community is the full articulation of the corridor may or may not be there for all members of the community. I'm not saying that you've got to cross every T and dot every I. As someone who used to be a bureaucrat, I know that at times is impossible to do. But I do think some additional feedback from the community, I think, would be important because, and Commissioner Cox, your question earlier about kind of what is the harm I'm paraphrasing of moving forward. I do think that there is concern that if there is a lack of community buy-in, that does then actually going to the market at this time does create the potential for essentially discord between a market that may or may not be in that community today and the stakeholders that are in that community. And where we are at this moment is kind of hearing from folks that the community is in support and kind of hearing from folks that the community is not without the broader context. So that, like, those are the elements that give me pause right now from being willing to support a project which on its face seems good. City, seems to make sense in addition to city land and how do we develop that alongside a broader package. So on its face, there seems to be significant value here, but there in my mind, there are still questions to be asked.
Thank you, Commissioner Wheat. You know, we're at the 3:30 point, and I do want to take an opportunity here to say a couple things. I agree with how you explained it, Commissioner Wheat. I do like the points that Vice Chair Newsom brought up and Commissioner Davis, that as well as Secretary Butler, of looking at this as best we can and be able to add more to it. I don't think I think it's disingenuous too that Commissioner Cox, if we all voted nay on this, then what happens there? That's a scenario that hasn't been explained in this as well. So my recommendation is that, based upon Vice Chair Newsom, is to hold this item for 30 days and then we revisit it.
And I'm, as I said, I'm more than happy to try to pull together the pieces that have been highlighted before and work with the aldermen to try to find a way forward. I will tell you, doing nothing is not an option. It's simply not an option. So we'll see if we can come to some consensus in 30 days. You know, as I said, this hasn't happened before, where in the other, I guess, 10 RFPs that we brought. So this is a slightly new take on it. I'm a very patient man, even though it may not seem like it today. So I'm happy to defer to our next meeting in hopes that the alderman and my department can bring together the stakeholders so we can get on the same page.
Okay, Secretary Butler.
No, I was just going to say I applaud that approach. I do think that Commissioner Wheat's comments regarding how the market might react or might not react if they sense any type of community discord regarding the way the appropriate development path to move forward is something that cannot be underestimated. I know that market developers shy away from communities where there is not, where there's discord as to the way that development should occur. And so we want to make sure that any RFP that we issue in the Black and Brown communities to support Invest Southwest have the greatest likelihood to succeed. And so we are all really vested in making sure that whatever issues that Alderman Beal's constituents have or any other automatic district, that those are addressed prior to the issuance of the RFPs, because we want to make sure we get the appropriate market response. And I just want to thank both Commissioner Cox and Alderman Beal for their directness and for their willingness to essentially compromise and not put the commission in a difficult situation today by continuing to have a dialogue between the two of them and their constituents as the best way to move forward. So thank you for that.
Commissioner Thomas?
I'm thankful also because I think that if there is some type of community meeting, even if it's via Zoom with robust reach out to people with an understanding of the community plan, not just 111, not just 115, but what the plan is for the next 10 years and how the different elements that you're both talking about fits in would make them more understanding of what, even if one thing comes before the other, how the other is coming and a better timeline of how it's coming. Right now, this community has heard and has even seen things fall, deals fall, if I understand the alderman correct, about 115th Street. And so I think what the community needs to hear is that there is a trust that they're being heard about what's happening on 115th and that it is part of the overall plan for this Roseland corridor. And I think I'm encouraged that that's a possibility to happen for the community.
Thank you. Thank you. Vice Chair Newsom.
One last comment, commissioners. There was a young lady on the line who was concerned about the number of housing units that were to be constructed above the retail. I'd like to invite her at some point to the 4400 Grove site, which contains 73 housing units above retail, and also in accordance with somewhat the plan that was presented today, the single family housing that will be constructed in conjunction with that particular site on the adjoining street. It does work, and it turns out to be actually a very well, it's a robust plan, but also it brings everything that community needs to one location. And so just for her benefit, I wanted to make sure that her comments were heard.
Thank you. All right, commissioners, based upon all these conversations and wonderful points, I'm going to ask that we put items F and G on hold, that we table those. Do I have a motion?
So move.
I
Second,
think that's G and F, G and H.
It's on the agenda, G and H, Roseland, Michigan Avenue tip. We received a revised agenda.
That's correct. I apologize. Correct. Items G and H to be held at this time. Do I have a motion? I heard a couple of you. Could you just reiterate your name before?
Brooks.
Commissioner Brooks, motion. Do I have a second?
Second, Thomas.
Seconded by Commissioner Thomas. I'm now going to call the roll. Vice Chair Newsom,
Yes.
Secretary Butler,
yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Mr. Buford,
Yes.
Mr. Cepeda, Commissioner Cox,
Very reluctant, yes.
Mr. Curtis,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Wheat. And Commissioner Wheat, one more.
Yes, sorry.
And Commissioner Bettis also votes yes. So that brings us to the end of today's meeting. I appreciate all of your time and perspectives. I'm now going to call or request a motion to adjourn. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, may I ask one question before we adjourn?
Commissioner Wheat, please go ahead.
Sure. I guess the question is to Alderman Bill, if you're still on the line, if there's a willingness on the part of you and your office to also participate. I know it sounds like some of your staff has been able to participate in some of these discussions, but for you directly to participate in some of these discussions as well over the coming weeks.
There's not another alderman in Chicago that is more aggressive and enthusiastic about development in their community. And I will make sure that I'm at every meeting going forward, but my staff has been doing a yeoman's job of keeping me abreast on what's going on.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Alderman.
Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, commissioners, again, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Secretary Butler. Do I have a second?
Second, Thomas.
Second, Curtis.
Commissioner Thomas. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, commissioners. Stay safe. Get your shot if you haven't. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Yes. Bye.
Aye.
Thank you.